Good afternoon, I'm Sean Yao, and this is One News Now. The U.S. presidential elections has everybody glued to the edge of the seats, or their seats. The tallying of mail-in votes continues, but leading candidate Joe Biden is already rolling up his sleeves for his next 4 years at the Oval Office. Greg Gregorio with that story.
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory.
Democrat Joe Biden is on his way to the presidency after clinching more than 270 electoral votes. Most major news outfits call the election for the 77-year-old candidate, along with his Vice President Kamala Harris, by November 7. Reuters projects Biden to have rebuilt the blue walls in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. It was Pennsylvania, a former Trump bailiwick, that pushed Biden over the Dream 270 threshold by the weekend. With 20 electoral votes, the state eroded Republican bet Donald Trump's chances of winning re-election. Biden is now projected to have won 279 to 290 electoral votes, depending on whether he'll secure the hotly contested Arizona. The counting of mail-in ballots continue across the U.S., but for Biden supporters, it is not too early to celebrate.
Where dreams are made of, there's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York.
Supporters of the presumed 46th president-elect are keeping their hopes up, especially with the U.S. still reeling from the COVID-19 pandemic.
I was so nervous for so many days and years, and when it finally happened today, I just felt like 5 years of stress just disappeared right off of me.
We are so happy to Biden win, and we are here because we are celebrating, and cheers!
In his victory speech in Wilmington, Delaware, Biden hailed the diverse support he gathered during the campaign. He has won more than 74 million popular votes so far, the most ever for a U.S. presidential candidate.
I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify. Who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States.
The cheers are as loud for Harris, who is projected to have made history as the first woman, first Black American, and the first American of Asian descent to serve as vice president.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities.
For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
And after the media's announcement of his apparent defeat, Republican candidate Donald Trump's first agenda was to go play golf. Trump supporters were seen cheering for him as he returned to the White House from his golf club. The incumbent U.S. president pledged to go forward with a legal strategy to overturn poll results. Trump loyalists continue to hold protests in several areas across the country, including Beverly Hills. And just like their presidential pick, they believe that there is corruption going on in the counting of ballots. As of 5 p.m. Philippine time, U.S. news agency Reuters is not yet calling 3 key states for either of the candidates. In North Carolina, Trump maintains a narrow lead, while Biden has a slim advantage in Arizona and Georgia. Should Biden carry both states, the projected winner will have 306 electoral votes, way above the required 270 number. Media outlets have emphasized that the projections were based on current counts, which are not expected to significantly change. President Duterte congratulates Democrat Joe Biden for his projected victory. Chief Executive, through Palace spokesman Harry Roque, vows to enhance the country's relations with the U.S. Roque adds that the Duterte administration is looking forward to working closely with its soon-to-be counterpart. Vice President Leni Robredo also greets Biden and U.S. Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. In a tweet, she says the Democrat duo's victory is an affirmation of the allies' shared ideals on democracy and civil rights. Back home, the COMELEC is mulling a vote-by-mail option in the 2022 elections in order to enable more people to participate and exercise their right to vote. COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon says the voter turnout will be higher if the said method will be expanded to cover PWDs, the elderly, and pregnant women. Guanzon notes that early voting will require all ballots to be printed at least 60 days before Election Day. The poll body must also finalize the list of candidates at an earlier date. Guanzon adds that the Philippine Postal Service must improve its system for mail-in voting to be possible. We're going to pause for a quick break, but we will be back with more stories after that. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. President Duterte has appointed NCRPO Director Police Major General Dutertes as the new PNP chief. Palace spokesman Harry Roque says the appointment will take effect on Tuesday, November 10. The so-called Mañanita Cop will be replacing General Camilo Cascolan. To help us understand the implications of this, we have News 5 editor-at-large and former defense correspondent Manny Mogato. Good afternoon, Manny. What's your take on all of this, and what is your personal reaction to Sinas's appointment as PNP chief, despite, of course, his involvement in the Mañanita controversy?
Good afternoon, Sean. I think Sinas is a wise choice because he is known to be a disciplinarian and he's a very good police officer. You remember, General Sinas graduated number 7 in his class at the Philippine Military Academy in 1987. So he is known to be a hardworking soldier and police officer. But I think the Mañanita and another incident at Bagong Diwa has tainted his reputation, his personality. Anyway, both the senior officers belong to Class 87, so there's really no big difference. But I think General Sinas has an advantage because he's very close to the president. There are rumors that they're very, very close.
All right, Manny, spokesman Harry Roque has said that the president had handpicked Sinas because of his big help with regard to the anti-drug campaign. Are you seeing an intensified drug war under Sinas, or just like you said, will it be pretty much the same?
Well, you've seen that during the last 8 months, during the COVID pandemic, when we had the lockdown in Metro Manila and in other places, the number of people who died in the drug war has increased by almost 50%. So, in a way, we could see that the police, especially the NCRPO, is doing their job.
All right. Anything else interesting about Debold Sinas that we should know about, apart from the Mañanita and apart from being, Central Visayas Police Chief?
General Sinas was the former commander of the crime laboratory of the PNP. So he knows his forensics. He has investigative skills. So he's a well-rounded officer. And many of his peers respect him.
All right, well-rounded indeed. But why is this that you also said this? He is very close to the president. Is there a specific reason for this? Because everyone, of course, is getting the impression that the president seems to favor him some extra.
Well, the reporters like us would are rooting for General Lasar because we know that General Lasar is making a good job as a task force field commander on the pandemic. But Sinas has proven himself to be also capable, and I don't know the inside story, but there are rumors going around that the president really is very close to Sinas, and that's why when he made a mistake in holding a birthday party in May, the president defended him.
All right, and it seems those cases have so far not been moving. Any updates with any of these cases? Have they all been thrown away?
By this time, it will be thrown away because he has been appointed as the chief PNP.
All right, thank you very much, News 5 Editor-at-Large Manny Mugato, for your insights. Meanwhile, government officials are optimistic that COVID-19 vaccines will be available in the country as early as May next year. For the details, Greg Gregorio is back, joining us live from Mandaluyong City this time. Greg, what's the latest on this?
Sean, Vaccine SAR Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. reiterated that the best case scenario for the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines in the country could be from May to June next year. However, he also noted another possibility that the bulk of COVID-19 supplies may only arrive in the country by either at the end of early 2021 or early 2022. Galvez says the IATF has already approved the Philippine National COVID-19 Vaccine Roadmap. The plan details the government's vaccine measures from evaluation to distribution. According to Galvez, they are in talks with 17 vaccine manufacturers from at least 5 countries. 10 of those have bilateral agreements with the Philippines, while others are part of the World Health Organization's COVAX facility. Galvez notes that British Swedish AstraZeneca has the cheapest offer of $5 or around 250 pesos per dose. Meanwhile, the government has already forged initial arrangements with the US's Pfizer, Moderna, and Novavax. As for China's Sinovac, it has yet to complete the documentary requirements needed by the Ethics Review Board regarding its application for late-stage clinical trials. The government targets to procure at least 50 million doses for 25 million Filipinos. Aside from the 2.4 billion pesos budget for vaccine procurement, there's also a 25 billion peso standby fund under the Bayanihan 2. The country is also planning to borrow money from international banks in case the budget won't be enough. Let's hear what Galvez had to say about this.
Malaki po ang credit rating natin at nakapag-prepare na po ang ating mahal na Secretary Dominguez ng possible amount na kayang-kaya po ng ating credit account doon sa World Bank.
Sean, as we wait for the availability of safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine, the Department of Health reminds the public anew to continuously practice minimum health standards. The agency notes that much more caution is needed for the anticipated social gatherings in the upcoming holiday season. Sean?
Right, thank you for that update. And fair warning, Greg Gregorio joining us live from Mandaluyong City this afternoon. Now listen up, commuters, because motorcycle taxis will soon be back on the road as the government's task force gave the green light for another pilot run. For the details, Gerard De La Peña joins us live from Mandaluyong. Gerard, when can we expect this to finally happen?
Well, Sean, actually, the Technical Working Group on Motorcycle Taxis has yet to determine the exact date as to when motorcycle taxis can hit the road once again. LTO Chief Edgar Galvante, who also heads the TWG, says that the group has yet to meet first with participants of the initial pilot run of the on motorcycle taxi operations, namely Angkas, Joyride, and Move It. They would like to see if the companies are compliant with the safety requirements set by the agency. Riders will be required to use barriers. They must also impose contactless payments. Passengers will now be asked to bring their own helmets while also wearing face masks underneath. The pilot run for motorcycle taxis was cut short when Metro Manila was placed under an enhanced community quarantine in March. The TWG had already submitted its recommendations to the House Transportation Committee to help in the crafting of guidelines once motorcycle taxis are allowed for good. The upcoming pilot study is expected to run between 3 to 6 months. Sean, officials said that if motorcycle taxi operators are found to be compliant, they may be able to start the operations as soon as possible. And we are talking of as early as within the week or early next week. Sean.
All right, looking forward to that update. Thank you very much, Gerard de la Peña, reporting to us live from Mandaluyong City. For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.